All right, we're back. Okay, so we've written our paragraph 1, our little intro blurb for assignment number 1. Now we need to get on to writing our characteristic paragraphs, right? Our body paragraphs, if you want to call them that. Okay, so again, going back to that checklist that we looked at in the last video, there's a series of steps that you should follow. If you do all of these things, your paragraphs are going to be good, maybe even better than good, dare I say even awesome, depending upon how much material you actually understand and know. So with that being said, guys, very quickly, what we do, number 1, is you identify the characteristic of topic for the paragraph, right? So if you're on the first characteristic, you're going to start off that first body paragraph saying something like the first important characteristic of capitalism is, and whichever one you chose, right? We identified competitions. We'll just do that one, right? And it says, did you define the characteristic? So competition is when, tell me what it is. And don't use a dictionary, okay? You should, at this point in your life in grade 12 and social studies 30, understand what competition actually is. So come up with your own understanding of it. Don't just use the dictionary. When we get that on the diploma marking floor, we're just like, great. This kid looked in the dictionary. Good for them, okay? Now, let's keep going. Did you give some information to demonstrate you understand the bigger picture of how the characteristic you selected relates to social studies? Okay, make sure you do that. And then use examples and explain them. Identify relevant ideologies if you can. And then explain how or why the characteristic you're writing is related to the assessment or topic. Let me just go back to something for a second here. Okay, this here, guys, is that one we've already looked at. Okay, I've erased some of the material because it was a mess and I couldn't really see, but these are your instructions. Okay, these are your instructions. Normally, all this stuff isn't going to be here. Okay, it's going to be a nice clean document, and this box tells you what to do. So it says, explain why your characteristics are the most important. You have to explain how competition is important to capitalism, how private property is important to capitalism, how profit motive, if that's what you're writing about, is important to capitalism. So I literally want you to have in the paragraph like a sentence that says competition is important to capitalism because, and explain it, right? You have to explain how it's important. If you're not doing that, you're not doing the assignment and you're not going to do as well as a student that does. When all else fails, I always say this to my students, when all else fails, read the instructions. If you're like, what do I do? As long as you do these 3 bullets, identify, explain, and support, you've done the assignment, okay? I mean, there's a certain format that we like to see, but it's just a preferred format, right? 96%, 97% of kids use this format. But if you're like, whoa, I just forgot what to do here, diploma day, right? You're panicking. Just make sure you do these things. If you do these 3 bullets, you're fine, okay? So let's go back to our written assignment, okay? So if you remember, the first checklist part that we have, right, for body paragraphs, the first checklist item is identify it. So we're going to say something like, the first important characteristic to a capitalist, I cannot spell, economy is, let's say private property. Okay, boom. We just very clearly, we've established what we're going to be writing about. At this point, guys, what you should do, based on that checklist, is define what private property is. So private property is property that is owned by individuals, rather than the state / government. Private property is the opposite of public property. Okay, boom. So, which we commonly see in more socialist / communist states. So right off the bat, guys, what we've done here is we've very clearly established that we know what private property is, right? We've defined it. Private property is owned by individuals rather than the state/government. Private property is the opposite. So we're using juxtaposition again. I think it's a very effective technique when you actually write your assignment number 1 to juxtapose it with the other side, right? So to private property, there's also public property, okay? Here's the difference, all right? Now, guys, states that are capitalist, like the United States of America, you know, I have to admit, sitting here and having you guys watching me type, there's a lot of pressure. I'm freaking out. Anyways, states that are capitalist, like the United States of America, strongly embrace private property, and it helps to contribute to the success of the American economy, as it pushes individuals to work hard to attain more. Okay, there we go. What else should we do here? So let's go back to our checklist, right? Let's go back to our checklist. Oops, there it is right there. So identify the characteristic, done it. Define it, done it. Give some information to demonstrate you understand the bigger picture. Okay, let's give some examples, right? So we're sort of right here. Give examples and identify it, okay? So let's go back, to our particular paragraph here. So examples of private property include one's house, one's car, and even a business that an entrepreneur owns by themselves. There we go. In an economy that embraces the idea of private property, the, just going to put this in italics, means of production are controlled by private individuals, and hence they are private property. Boom. Okay, beautiful. And guys, really, the only other thing we need to do at this point is talk about why it's important, and then, yeah, that's it. So let's do that. Private property is important to a capitalist economy because it gives individuals a sense of motivation to work and work hard. Private property can be seen as almost like a prize for the toil and sweat that individuals output within the capitalist economy. It also gives individuals a sense of, a sense of security. Because if property is private and you worked to attain it, the state cannot take it away. Hence, I don't know. Okay, you know what? We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so let's look what we did here, okay? First important characteristic of the capitalist economy is private property. Boom, we identify what we're going to write about. Private property is property that is owned by individuals rather than the state government. We've defined it. Private property is the opposite of public property, which is commonly seen, this is why we edit, in more socialist/communist states, states that are capitalists like the United States of America, strongly embrace private property, and it helps to contribute to the success of the American economy as it pushes individuals to work hard to attain more. Examples of private property include one's home, one's car, and even a business that an entrepreneur owns by themselves. In an economy that embraces the idea of private property, the means of production, ooh, look at this big fancy term, are controlled by private individuals, and hence they are private property. Private property is important to a capitalist economy because it gives individuals a sense of motivation to work and work hard. Private property can be seen almost like a prize, or we'll say, or reward for the toil and sweat that an individual or that individual's output in the capitalist economy. It also gives individuals a sense of security because if private property is private and you work to attain it, the state cannot take it away. Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. Now, what do we do from this point? The second important characteristic to the capitalist economy is blah, blah, blah. And then we just go through the same steps. We just go through the same steps, right? Tell me which one. Profit motive, right? Define what it is, right? From your head, not from a dictionary. Show that you understand it. Give me some information about what it is, right? Explain relevant ideologies, use examples, and then tell me why it's important. That's all you have to do, okay? That's all you have to do. Now, your paragraphs might not be as long as mine, and that's okay. But as long as you're doing those 5 things in that checklist, you've done what you need to do. You're at least going to get an S. If you can give a bit more details, you're going to get a PF. And if you can give a solid understanding of it, you're going to get an E. Period, point blank, done. Okay? So, guys, that's it. Typically, these are maybe a page and a half that we get from students. So you guys always ask me, how long should it be, Mr. Crosby? As long as it needs to be to demonstrate that you understand the topic and to demonstrate that you've done all that you've been asked to do. Okay? There's no set amount. I've read pages of garbage and I've read single pages of brilliant writing. Okay? There's no length requirement, right? So that's up to you. Okay, guys, that's assignment number 1. I'm going to put up the rubric and also some exemplars for you to check out for this particular assignment. Okay, guys, so peace, and I'll see you again. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you guys, I love you. Okay, so take it easy, guys.